Before we begin this episode, I'd like to recognize the Harsh Rules Patreon supporters that help make content like this possible. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/harshrules to learn more. And once again, thank you for your support. Another way you can support the channel is by liking and subscribing. Liking a video helps me understand what content is successful with this audience. As for subscribing, new content appears on this channel first. While you may have found your way here from Board Game Geek or other sites, in the future, I'll also be adding more exclusive content that may only be found here. The best way to be informed when I upload new videos is to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications. Once again, thanks for watching, and now let's get to the video. Welcome back to Harsh Rules. This has been Harsh, and today I'm going to answer the most frequently asked questions I get in the comment sections of my videos. So I've made a list, so let's walk through some of these. So the first question, how do I make the rules videos or the rules breakdowns? So basically people want to know, what software do I use to make those videos? And the software, quite simply, is Microsoft PowerPoint. There's nothing really that special, or it's not some secret program. It's just PowerPoint. I use it in my real life job. I use it in these videos. And the advantage is, you know, when I'm working on videos, I'm actually training myself for my real life job. And when I'm at my real life job, I'm learning stuff that I can incorporate in the videos. So let's see what the second question is here. So second question, why do you not appear in your videos? Well, I'm appearing in this one. But seriously, this is, my answer might be somewhat controversial. It's not because I'm afraid to be on video or anything like that. It's a matter of the subject. So with a YouTube video, the subject matter here is teaching board games. And in other videos, I might appear briefly or whatnot. But I think ultimately I am not, the video is not about me. I think that's the kind of the key takeaway I'd say on that. If I need to have a direct connection, through this video with people, then it makes sense. Like if I'm doing a review or I'm, sharing something with you, then that personal touch is nice. When I'm teaching a game, you got to figure that you have this, landscape visual that you're putting your diagrams and your information, right? So if I'm in this video, I'm going to eat up a lot of real estate on the page, just for having me there. And I don't think that really adds a whole lot to it. I think that, if I had to take my workspace of showing slides, that means I have to transition more, but I'm going to chew up no matter what size, whether it's like some little streamer thing in the corner or it's whatever. The value just isn't there. That's the main reason why I don't appear. It's extra work and not a lot of value add for those types of videos, and I need the landscape to put as many diagrams and examples and things as I can on the screen. So what's the next question? Why do you talk slow? I get this a lot. And mostly it's the older videos. So let me explain. When I first started recording these videos, I didn't have Audacity at that point. I just used the little speaker in PowerPoint. There's like a little record button you can push, and you got a microphone, you just record directly into PowerPoint. So I would record those clips, and they, would pile up with, I didn't have a script either. So, a lot of stuff I've learned since then. So when you're recording, I'm thinking through like, okay, you want to move this infantry unit from this point on the map to that point on the map. Clip, that's a clip. And then you want to move the infantry person from that point to this point, B to C, there's another clip. So what happens with those clips is that each has a wave pattern, And you've got a little bit of space at the beginning, and you got your little sentence you're saying or little phrase you're saying, and then you have another gap. When you lock those together, then you have two breathing gaps, because that's really what that is. You say your piece, and then I'm human. I have to take a breath, and then I'll end the clip, or I'm already slow. Then you add in two breaths into that sequence, or however many on it. So after a while, it really stretches out the speech. And plus, I speak slowly because I'm trying to, enunciate and pronounce things correctly. If I speak quickly, then I start slurring, and you can't hear, did he just say this or did he say that? So what I do now is I try to write out what I'm going to say. That's a good tip. And then in Audacity, I go in and I remove all the breathing. All that's chopped out, and it compacts it together so that it runs faster. I've found that people just don't have the patience anymore for a discussion like that. So that's kind of why if it seems like I talk slow, it's because I did talk slow, and now I try to talk faster, and I try to use editing to speed myself up. I've also thought about just speaking clearly slowly and then going back and cranking the speed up on the dialogue so it runs faster. I've thought about that too. I might try that. I'm not sure whether it's going to sound natural, but according to a lot of viewers who leave me comments, they love to listen to me at 1.25 or 1.5 speed on YouTube, because then I speak at normal speed apparently. So yeah, thanks for that, guys. So the next question, and this is a very common one, is how long these videos take to make? A long time. So you got to figure, I get the game. Let's say I want to start that day, the day that the game shows up in the mail. I pick, unwrap it, unbox it, start reading the rule book. It's going to take a while, especially with the games I do recently. So just learning the rules, it might take me a week just reading the rules and taking some brief notes. Then once I get a feel for it, and I'm trying to solitaire some of it on my own, because my family hates games. So, they don't like board games. My son, they play video games, of course, because who doesn't? But board games, they can't be bothered. My wife thinks they're stupid. So I don't have anyone to play games with here. So I have to do everything solitaire. But anyway, back to the length of the thing. So just learning the rules. I have some folks complain, not to me, but just complain about the general state of war games. It takes a long time to learn one of these games. And I'm not any smarter than any of you, so it takes me a while as well. So I'm taking a week or so just trying to figure things out, take my notes, and then slowly I start building out diagrams of okay, if I had to teach this to somebody, you guys, if I had to try to translate or break this thing down from what I just read into something that people can digest quickly, how would I do that? And that's where I start just doodling like crazy and doing diagrams and chunking it down so that people can do it. So my career, one of my jobs in the past was I worked with executives, and all I did was take information and, there's some huge press release or there's a new law in effect, per se. I would take that and break it down so that they, go into a meeting like, hey, they passed a new law on X, Y, and Z. What does it mean? And, I'd break it down in the bullets or try to visualize what's going on with it and present it to them so they can make a decision. And that was my job for some time, doing that. So one of the reasons why I got into this hobby or this YouTube thing is I got tired of making all these elaborate presentations and then they get thrown in the garbage for one meeting and then they're just tossed. So I'm like, well, I'd like to take these skills and make something that people can use for as long as possible versus just a one 20-minute meeting, you're working on something for weeks, and then, oh, okay, I got it, and mission accomplished, but it's in the trash. So I'd like to do stuff that has a little more longevity than what I did before for that. So after we get rolling, so we're talking about a week just learning, and I will keep learning as I'm going through, but the second week is just developing. Then it's a couple other weeks of just refining, learning, and keep going and going. And so you're talking, and I do this a couple hours every day at least. That adds up over weeks and weeks, and Saturday, Sunday. So I'm thinking probably an episode, it's not uncommon to be 40 to 50 hours of work to put it all together. It all depends also on the game, right? Obviously, Risk or something simple some of those still take time, but not as much as like a coin game, which take my normal production time and double it, because they're extremely complex. You're learning multiple sets of rules, because the appeal of coin games is that they're asymmetrical. It means that everybody plays by a slightly different set of rules, and they all intermesh together. So learn to play every role to be able to put that out. So they take some time. I know it frustrates people because they're like, why aren't you done? Why can't you do like 50 more videos? And it's just the nature of what it is. It just takes a long time. So let's see what else we got here in my notes. Why don't you cover big games? And this is kind of a generalization for a lot of the questions. So I get a lot of requests to do giant games, giant war games, the ones that take up, 2 ping pong tables together, and they're like 5 by 5 feet. And, I would say there's a couple of reasons. One is just what I'm challenged with recently is trying to display those bigger games on the slide. I mean, on the YouTube video, the screen. I mean, you've got like a screen, and you can't fit it all in. So how do you do this without getting people lost? I'm working on this with Holland 44, where it's a fairly large map, and trying to figure out, like, when you've got counters that are little tiny counters and trying to show the whole map. I mean, you can show portions of the map, and how do you make sure people don't get lost or where you're at? And there's a lot of logistics there, that trying to figure out how to make that effective. Because we've all watched videos where, like, well, this is the game set up, and it's huge, and the guy's like sitting way in the corner of his basement shooting across at this giant map. It doesn't mean anything if you're trying to teach. It means something like, well, that's really big. Wow, there's a lot of hexes. But it doesn't mean anything from when you're trying to learn something, because I can't see any of the pieces. I'm just kind of getting a feel for it. I'm not really able to understand, like, yeah, that tiny little hex over there, that's a pond, or that's a swamp hex, and it's just so hard to see. And when you're magnifying that on a screen, you have to start making choices about where you zoom in, what you're looking at, and that is challenging. So I'm working through that with Holland, trying to figure out ways to break up the map, and how do you keep track of where you're at on the map so people don't just get lost, and whatnot. So after that, I may look at some bigger ones. That's only one of the reasons, though. I think another reason is I'm really curious, other than the spectacle, what else do these games have to offer? I get a little nervous. I think some people just want to see if I can do something really difficult. But I think there's like World at War, or is it World in Flames? There's it's World something. It's a giant, one of those giant games where, fills up a room or something. And the rule book's like 200 pages long, or 186 pages or something like that. And I'm like, when you get to a book length rule book, I'm like, is that really fun? You've got to wonder. Or is it just like more of an exercise in attention deficit disorder or something, where somebody's just like, and everything has its place, and every historical nuance is accounted for, and every person is accounted for on the map. And I know I'm being a little sarcastic, but I'm like, is that something that a lot of people enjoy, or is it just the spectacle of like this giant, everything's giant? I don't know. It just runs through my mind when I get asked to do those. I'm like, is it? But is it you and four other people like to play this, or is this only played at conventions, or like, my wife would shoot me if I set up like a Time for Trumpets or whatever the latest giant game that came out was about the Ardennes. I'd be like, yeah, that's that. If I wanted that divorce, that's the way to get it. Let's set that thing up in the living room. See how long I'm married. But maybe there's something there I just don't see yet. I'll eventually, the curiosity will overwhelm me, and I'll have to take a look. So let's see what else we got. Why don't you do more new games? Why are you always doing old games? I get that a lot. Why are you always doing stuff that's out of print? So quite simply, I'm working on, every year I have a goal. Last year's was trying to finish up. I did a lot of other games, but I'm trying to finish all the Axis and Allies games that are the main games in this. That was a goal. My next goal that I'm working towards is I'm just trying to get out some of what I would consider foundational games of for wargaming. So, basically looking at the Board Game Geek, like maybe the top 25, and then trying to, because there's some weird nuances to that list, and trying to boil it down to some of the key games. So that's why I want to do Holland 44. I want to do probably Ancients, Sekigahara. There's a bunch I've already done. And there's some other ones in that list. But try to build out a foundation of popular games, so that when people come to the site and they want to start learning to play war games, that we kind of cover, like, this is a hex and counter game, this is a block war game, this is a point-to-point, war game. As for new games, I'm gonna admit to you, I probably have a poor attitude about some of the newer games, and maybe I'm just jaded right now, but it's hard for me to invest a lot of time into some of the brand new. Now, I'm not talking about new GMT, but I think what people are looking for me is like, oh my god, the hotness on BGG. Like, why are you going to cover that? No, I'm the hotness. Some of those things that are in that list, it's basically whatever's hot and exciting that was released now or is going to be released in 2 weeks. I find that people pick those up, they play them once, and they dump them. They're like kind of a disposable. They kind of feels like it. Some of those things stick. Like you get one that'll stay there, and the kind of maybe move up and down the top. How was it, 20 or something? Things it'll move up and down. Some of them just hit, and they're gone. Like I don't even want to name them, because then somebody's gonna get upset. It's inevitably, he's trash talking your game. I'm like, they're just churning through stuff as fast as they can. There's a lot of gamers that just want to play as much as possible before they're done with gaming. So they will just fly through those games. They're not there to play it every day or every weekend for a year. They're just, they'll play it. All right, we tasted that or played that. What's the next one? Chuck. And now that you understand how long it takes me to develop a game, I hope you can understand that, it's hard for me to pour time into something that maybe I'm not that passionate, but I'm just chasing whatever's hot, throw it out there. By the time I get my video halfway done, like, the thing's like gone. Everyone's moved on to something else. So I prefer to just focus on, my own thing. And I'm looking for stuff that's got staying power. I'm looking for stuff that survived the weekend, that they played it and they didn't chuck it and they keep playing it, or it takes them several weekends to play it. And that's the kind of stuff that it's worth me putting time into. So even if the game is 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old, 5 years old, 2 months old, that's the kind of stuff I'm focusing on. I don't have the energy anymore, and the speed, and my process is slow enough as it is. I've got to have something that's got some staying power, or I'm really invested in. There's been some discussion about like what I think about other channels, and not exactly in a positive light. So, to be clear, just to, I don't compete with other channels. I think we're all, and I can't speak for them, so I don't know how they feel, but I can just tell you how I feel about it. I love to watch other YouTube channels. It's a hobby. It's something I enjoy. I want to see what other people think about it. Now, maybe their skills are not, like they don't have steady camera work, or they, they're not super articulate. Not that I am, but, not that my camera work is anything special, or even some of my other things. But I think it's important to think that this is a hobby we all enjoy, and everyone is doing their part. When they put up a video, they're trying to share, trying to teach, doing the best. Even people that design rule books, they're doing the best they can. Are there people better at it? It depends on the person. Some people love GMT rule books. It's a type of person they are. The teaching style links up perfectly with their learning style, and there's some people that hate my videos. I got guys that downvote them like every time. I'm like, what did I ever do to you? But it's just the way it is. Like, they don't like my voice. They don't like my style. Probably speak too slow or something. But that's the way it is, But I have, I don't believe in throwing dirt at other people. And I'm, I think that, yes, I get frustrated with rule books just like anybody else. I get frustrated with the teacher occasionally. Yes, I get frustrated with other sites, especially when they're not as clear as they should be, or the camera moves around too much or whatever. But, they're all doing their part to, try to share the hobby to the best of their ability. And I like watching them anyway. I've got a ton of folks. I get up in the morning and, what's the chief doing? And he has a video, or, oh, Stuka Joe's got another video up, or, who's No Enemies Here interviewing this week, or my favorite, the Player's Aid. What are they going to pull off the shelf today? Rodney's going to teach Cuba Libre? Sure. 2.5 hours? Okay. Or 6 hours. What was a ridiculous amount of time he spent on that game? But I'm like, all right, well, good on you. Heavy Cardboard, they're running another multi-hour stream. Cool stuff. So, I think everyone needs to, this hobby's, let's be honest, this hobby's pretty small as far as, we're a far cry from the popularity of video games, where you got millions and millions of people. Everyone should try to work together, get along, even though we're playing war games. Doesn't quite make sense, the analogy, but, just do the best. If you don't like someone, you don't have to watch them, but you don't need to attack them either. But just enjoy other people's stuff. Enjoy the hobby. It's supposed to be fun, right? So that's pretty much it. Those are like the main questions I get. I answered them here. If you, some other question, burning question, leave in the comment section below. And always, I'm Ben Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like and share with your friends. To be the first notified when the next episode of Harsh Rules becomes available, please hit the bell icon for notifications. And as always, this is Ben Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.